Welcome to the TheDPost Sports Chat. I'm Drew Rubenstein here with Justin Jackson. And Justin, after Sunday's loss to Purdue, the WVU men's basketball team fell to 7-5 this season. Exact same record that last year's 13-19 bunch had after 12 games as well. And let's start right there. How much different is this team from last year's squad?
Just going by the numbers, record-wise, they're not any different. Shooting, they're shooting the ball much better. There are differences. Shooting, three-point shooting specifically is much better than it was last year. Rebounding has gotten worse, and opponents rebounding the ball against them has gotten worse. So there are some areas where they are better, and offensively they're better. Defensively, they're not quite as good as they were last year. And a lot of names have changed, and new players have come on, and the record is still the same. But there are some differences between this year's team and last year's team, and it goes beyond just what the record is at the moment.
Do fans need to adjust expectations, or can this team still make strides from last year's record and still not end up in a great position? I mean, maybe they take steps in the right direction, but still don't end up in the NCAA tournament. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, if you just first of all, you have to look at what the Big 12 is too. I mean, the Big 12 is the #1 team in the RPI right now as a league, and if you start thinking, okay, what does WVU have to do now in Big 12 play? Because they only have one non-conference game left, and so so you really have to kind of look at Big 12 play. And if you start to think, okay, if you want this team to get to the NIT or the NCAA, what kind of run does it have to make? And then you say, okay, well, you got to win, probably 10 or 11 games in the Big 12 regular season. And then to do that, well, you're going to have to beat a Kansas, you're going to have to beat an Oklahoma State, or you're going to have to beat a Baylor, either at home or on the road, and you're going to have to sweep a Texas Tech or a TCU, and all of those teams are improved. I mean, the bottom teams from last year's standings are much better than they were last year. And some of the teams at the top of the standings didn't get much worse. I mean, the league is much better than it was last year, probably from top to bottom. So to think that WVU, is going to win 8, 9, 10, 11 games in the Big 12, just going by based off what they've done so far, I mean, that's a really tough stretch to think that way.
It's going to be difficult, and you hit a little bit on the defense and rebounding, going a step backwards, at least in terms of what most people's perceptions of a Bob Huggins team. This doesn't seem to be it, at least right now, where they're giving up more points. They've got a lot of fresh faces in there, but also their style of play has changed, more up-tempo. So I guess along those lines, how much can this team improve defensively and rebounding the ball if its personnel stays as it is right now?
Yeah, I mean, subtle differences, maybe subtle improvement throughout the season, but I think it would be difficult to say, okay, this team is at X, Y, and Z right now, and then by the end of the year they're going to be A, B, and C. I don't think that'll be the case, because I mean, just if you're going to improve, you would have seen it already, and the fact that that they have difficulties in rebounding, and and unless the roster changes, if a Jonathan Holton becomes eligible, I mean, that would certainly help. But if the roster stays as is, it'll be difficult. I mean, maybe you see some differences in rebounding. Maybe there's a game where they jump out and have a really good rebounding game, something like that. But to say that they're going to be consistently better in defending and rebounding by the end of the season, I think that's tough to say at this point.
And going back to Sunday's game, it was concerning with shooting 3 of 18 from three-point range for WVU, but was the defensive side more concerning, where they give up a stretch of easy layups late in the game, situations where Purdue's running out the shot clock, and then they end up finding a hole in WVU's zone and getting an easy put up there?
I mean, the coaches and players say, that it was the missed shots that hurt him more. I think it was the defensive. I mean, the shooting has kind of dwindled down. If you look at the stats the last few games, the shooting has kind of dwindled down a little bit from what they were shooting at the beginning of the year. They were shooting so high at the beginning of the year, you just knew that they weren't going to continue to do that throughout the rest of the season. They have to play defense. I mean, you got to stop layups, and you got to stop penetration, and you've got to find a way to rebound the ball better. That's going to be the challenge for the rest of the season. It's going to be very difficult for this team and its current makeup to do that.
And last one here, along the lines of rebounding and getting more help in the post, Huggins kind of hinted at it in his post-game press conference after the Purdue game, saying he needs to play Brandon Watkins more. Yeah. Could you see Devin Williams and Brandon Watkins in together at the same time, or how could WVU's rotation here maybe adapt?
I think you will see that. And now the problem with Brandon is offensively and what he knows in the system and the plays and getting him in the right spot. Defensively, I think he's fine, and he's shown that. You know, he had 8 rebounds. He had a double-double against Marshall. He had 11 rebounds against Marshall. He can rebound. He can block shots. You know, if you stand him in front of the basket and say, okay, defend the rim, and people come in and you try to block the shots or rebound the ball, he can do that, and he can do it very well. It's the other factors of basketball. It's you know, being in the right place at the right time on inbounds plays and on offense and things like that is where they have to get him up to speed. And you know, that's a major part of the game. So if you can get him, if you can get Brandon up to that part and get him more comfortable in the system, yeah, you can put him right next to Devin, and you may have something there.
All right, very good. Justin, appreciate your time once again, and please continue to check TheDPost.com for the latest on the Mountaineers, who are back in action Sunday against William & Mary. Thanks for watching again.